Right, so it's really important when you're looking at nutrition, when you're looking at diet, looking at not only what you're putting in, but more importantly, what you're missing. When most people think about wanting to lose weight or wanting to get healthy, they think mostly about what they're going to cut out. And that is important, but many people don't even think about what are they putting in? What are they nourishing themselves with? So, you see people where they're cutting calories, and they're saying, okay, I'm not going to eat, cookies anymore. But then they're eating a low-calorie processed snack that's made of chemicals, right? And so they're not getting any nourishment. And so the real key when you're trying to transform your body, whether it's for your health or whether it's for your vanity, as I originally wanted, right? You have to look at what you're missing first. So, you want to get rid of the things, of course, that are going to cause inflammation and disease. So the biggest factors would be getting rid of dairy. Dairy is the most toxic thing people put in their body. I won't even call it food. It is not food for humans. And the research is just irrefutable that it's probably the number 1 cause of disease being started in people starting from childhood. So I have very, very, let me find the word. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to remove that from your diet. And I think it shouldn't even be in children's diets. I tell my clients that I'd rather them give their kid a cigarette than a glass of milk. And that usually gets their attention. They think I'm a little wacky, but that gets their attention. So getting rid of dairy products, getting rid of animal products, meat products, eggs, all of those things, they're directly causing disease in the body. They increase inflammation by increasing acidity, which actually causes inflammation in the body and an inability of the cells to be able to optimally function. They also have shown, Scientific American just had a research study where they were showing saturated fats from dairy, but animal products in general, change the flora in your gut, the bacteria in your gut, so that you don't have the right bacteria that you need for your health. And right now, the gut is one of the biggest things people are focusing on as the key to your health. And doesn't that make sense? It's what you put into your body. Where is it digested? Right here. And so when we don't eat the right foods, that is the gateway to creating disease in the rest of your body. So when those bacteria are not what they should be, that also starts an immune response in your body right on your gut. And what they found is there's actually hemorrhages that occur inside of the gut lining after you're exposed to saturated fat. So there is no benefit to eating animal products, and actually there's a lot of risk. So all those things have to go. The other thing that's really disease causing is processed foods, and I say foods lightly. There are things that we've created in laboratories that our bodies do not recognize as food. And so when you put that into your body, and I'm talking about things that have a shelf life of 50 years, something I would say, if it's something your grandma wouldn't recognize, it's not food. If you pick up an apple and you read the label, the ingredient is apple. If you pick something up and it's got multiple ingredients, and most of them you'd have to be a scientist to understand what it is, it's not food, it's processed. And what they've shown is they've done studies where they've shown if someone eats a processed food, and they take blood tests a little while later, there's actually an increase in immune response in the bloodstream. So you're actually causing an immune response by eating these things that are not foods. And if your body is busy having an immune response to what you're eating, then it can't be busy taking care of the cells and doing the jobs they're supposed to be doing. Because your immune system's supposed to be healing other problems that are going on, real bacteria that are attacking you. Cancer that's coming up. We all have cancer cells that form, but our immune system's supposed to get rid of them. But if our immune system's busy trying to battle a fake attack from processed foods, it's not going to function the way it should be. So these really are a much bigger threat than people really realize. So you want to eat natural whole foods, ones that you could, if you couldn't grow it yourself, I don't have a green thumb, I can't grow anything, but you at least know somebody could, so you can identify it. So those are the top things to get rid of. The other one that you want to get rid of is really all of the different kinds of oils. When you look at like vegetable oil, whatever Crisco is, lard, of course, the saturated fats, but even all the different kinds of vegetable oils, those are very laden in something called omega-6 fatty acids. And while those are an essential fatty acid your body needs, it doesn't need that much of it. And what the omega-6 fatty acids do is they are the initiator of the inflammation response, the inflammatory response in your body. So when you need inflammation to fight something, you need omega-6. Omega-6 is supposed to be balanced by omega-3, which is our anti-inflammatory pathway. Starts with omega-3s. Those should be 1-to-1. Most people have a 40-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3, which is why we are always inflamed and why we are always sick. If you are inflamed, you're going to get sick. Your genetics say what illness you get. But whether or not you've got inflammation because of your food, That's what is the trigger for whether or not you get sick at all. And most folks have that backwards, including doctors. They think that you're going to get sick based on your genetics. No, your genetics just tells you which illness you're going to get. So it's really important to minimize inflammation in your body so that you're not going to set off these triggers to develop illness. So you want to stay away from all those inflammatory foods. Then what do you put in? You put in the fuel that your cells need to optimize their own health and their own function. So what is that fuel? Those vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, enzymes, they all come from plants. That is the Garden of Eden. That is the source of our fuel. It's the source of all of the vitamins that we need for our body to function. All that comes from plants. My favorite is greens. Greens are just loaded. So kale and spinach, you should get a lot of that. Vegetables, wonderful sources of vitamins and minerals, all the enzymes you need. And you want to eat this stuff raw, because everything's going to be intact. You can eat it cooked too. It doesn't hurt you to eat, some steamed broccoli, but you're not going to get everything the way nature intended it and the way your body is designed to break it down. Our body knows exactly what to do with what nature gave us. Once you start messing with that, now it's trickier. Now you're not going to get everything you need. So it's really important to have the raw foods be a big part of your diet. And so that's what we advocate, is that you should have a high raw diet where a majority of what you eat all day is going to be raw greens and vegetables and some fruits too. So that's the biggest part of what you eat. The next thing that's really important that you get is enough water. Most people are chronically dehydrated. And the most common symptom of dehydration is lack of thirst. And so when someone tells me I'm just never thirsty, I know they're dehydrated. And the way I understand it in my mind, and I tell stories in my head, is that your body's going, okay, there's no water, so we're dying of thirst. So you're not going to keep suffering, right? What you do is you turn off the suffering, right? Just like when they say when you're drowning, at first you panic and then it becomes peaceful. I think it's our body's way of coping with, okay, well, there's no water, so I'll just turn off the thirst drive and that way we won't suffer. So people don't realize they're thirsty. The first thing that happens when people start drinking enough water, and I'm talking about at least a half an ounce of water per body weight, or per pound of body weight. So at least a half an ounce of water per pound of body weight for survival. For healing, I go up to at least an ounce. Minimum of 96 ounces a day is what my husband and I have seen from all the clients we've worked with. Once you hit 96 ounces a day, you start seeing some change here. Below that, you really don't. And so when people start adding all that water in, what we notice is they're thirsty all the time. I'm drinking a gallon of water a day. Why am I so thirsty? It's because your body goes, oh my gosh, we've reached the lake. We found it. So now it's time to drink. And so your body adjusts quickly, and all of a sudden there's this demand. And what is that demand for? Well, every cellular reaction that happens in your body, and there's just millions of reactions that are going on every moment, they all require water as a reactant. If you're missing water, those chemical reactions can't occur. So whether you're asking your body to, drop some fat, or whether you're asking your body to heal a disease, if you don't have water, it can't do what it wants to do. It can't function properly. And so for some people, that's the biggest factor holding them back, is their water intake. So, in the beginning, you're in the bathroom all the time, because your bladder is also like, whoa, waking up, like, what are we doing here? We're drinking? Okay. So in the beginning, you're just kind of running to the bathroom all the time. But eventually, you can adjust to it, and it's not that bad. And, after just what I told you so far, between the water and all the vegetables and the fiber, you'll be in the bathroom a lot. When I first did this, I thought I should just move my desk in there and just see patients. Next, but they weren't down with that. But eventually your body kind of gets into this rhythm and goes, oh my gosh, okay, we're eating for life now. We can do this, and it becomes something that you can manage, and your body can actually thrive on it. So those components are super, super important. And then the next thing your body needs is, I mentioned those omega-3 fatty acids. If you're at a 60-to-1 ratio, and you're inflamed all the time, we've got to do whatever we can to get that ratio back to where it should be. So don't have all the omega-3 fatty acids from all those oils, all those processed oils, and then flood yourself with these omega-3 fats. Now, a lot of people are afraid of fat. I'm not afraid of it when it's the right fats. So fats from whole foods, like if you're eating an avocado, you don't have anything to worry about. Your body knows how to eat an avocado. It's great. It wouldn't, you know that it's good for you when you're eating it, right? So I see people who are afraid they eat like half of one. No, don't be afraid of an avocado. Be afraid of like pouring a bunch of oil over top of your salad. That's different, right? So whole food fats, and then omega-3 fats, flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, they should be part of your daily diet. And those are amazing for you because one, they're directly anti-inflammatory. The more of those you consume, the faster your cells and your health transform. It's amazing. We've seen when people who are eating, a cup a day of chia seeds, they get faster results than people who are having a couple tablespoons. It's a beautiful, beautiful process. For me, when I started doing omega-3s, my joint pain went away very quickly. And actually, I had a client who had rheumatoid arthritis with nodules on her hand, and the nodules dissolved just by adding the omega-3s that she was missing. It was just amazing. And that doesn't happen in medicine. We don't have any medications that can do that. But omega-3s did. So it's very powerful, and people don't realize how important those are. So while it does seem like a lot, we have to remember that we are trying to balance out a ratio that's been out of whack for most of our lives. So omega-3s are important. And other fats, you really try to avoid anything that's processed. When people want to cook and they ask me, the only one that I'll approve of for cooking would be a little bit of olive oil, just because it's not involved in inflammation. It's an omega-9. Not involved in inflammation. It's still not good for your arteries. It kind of gets things sticky, and it's not, don't chug it. But if you want to spray your pan a little bit, that would be the only one that I recommend using. It has been extraordinary how beneficial diet can be for mood disorders. And it makes sense when you think about it. One of the things I tell my patients now is, you've got this neck that attaches your head to your body. So if you're nourishing your body, your brain's going to be doing great too. If you're eating toxic foods, guess what? Your brain's not going to be functioning well. And that's what I see, is that people who have really nutrient-poor diets, they also have more depression, more anxiety, and more chance of psychotic disorders as well. So looking at anxiety specifically, I had a woman that I'd been seeing since I was a resident, and she was in her 50s, and has had anxiety all of her life. Her mother had anxiety all of her life. And so I did what I knew what to do at the time, was I used medication. And she actually stabilized on medication. And it's important to know that medications really serve a purpose. And I'm a medical doctor and I still believe in them. I just believe that medicines are to serve a purpose. They're a tool, but they should not be the end game, because they will not heal what's wrong with you. Medications will make you feel better. They cut the check engine light. So it's like, you thought there's a problem? There's no problem. Look, you feel better. But meanwhile, whatever's causing that problem, that's still happening, right? So it helps you feel better in the moment. And if you have anxiety, for example, it's really hard to listen to me talk about green smoothies if you feel like you're crawling out of your skin, right? So, so they can be really useful. So anyway, at the time, I didn't know about plant-based nutrition and healing. What I knew about was medication. So I gave her medication and she did pretty well and she was stable. She wasn't the happiest person you ever met, but her anxiety wasn't giving her panic attacks and she was able to function in her life. Anyway, she disappeared for a while, and she had decided she wanted to do all natural stuff, which at the time I would have rolled my eyes at, because I'd just become a medical doctor and I knew that all the rest of that stuff was not real. Right? Because they would have taught us that in 16 years of training. If kale was important, they would have told me, right? So she left to try to do natural stuff. And her son knew an herbalist, and they put her on about 20 different herbs, which are medications as well. I think it's really important for people to realize that you're still putting chemicals in your body that are having a psychoactive response. It's a medication. But she had a terrible reaction, and she came back to me with the worst depression she'd ever had, the worst anxiety she ever had. She was having chronic panic attacks. She was so depressed she could barely get out of bed, and she'd never felt so bad in her life. So she came back to me and said, I heard that you're doing stuff a little differently now, that you're also using natural means and nutrition. Is there any way you could help me get back on my feet? And so what we did was I did start medication again, because she was so depressed and she was so anxious that it takes time for your cells to heal. It's not as quickly as using medications can be. So we started there, but at the same time, I put her on a completely low inflammation diet. And she was someone who was really good at sticking to it. Folks with anxiety tend to be better at following instructions because they get really nervous if they don't. just tell me what to do, okay. So, I'm in constant contact with my clients. I see people through Skype. I travel a lot. I see them through Skype, but every one of them has got my cell phone number. My patients and my clients can contact me anytime they need to. So, she would text me and she was nervous about something and I'd text her back, here, just do this, just do that. But she was doing green smoothies every day. She cut out dairy and meat from her diet. She was drinking her water. She was doing her omega-3. She was doing everything she needed to do. And she took her medicine as well. And I realized at one point that I hadn't gotten a text from her in a while. And in the beginning, I was getting about 5 texts a day. I had to tell her to consolidate, just put them all in and hit send at the end of the day, because it was getting to be, but people have anxiety. It's an all-day constant suffering. So I realized I hadn't heard from her in months. And that was very strange. So, you know, I called her and I said, hey, what's going on? How are you? And she goes, I am amazing. I have no anxiety. I have no depression. She goes, I've been busy. I'm sorry I haven't made an appointment. I started a new business and I've been she's doing crafts and things, and the best she'd ever felt in her life. And not in that manic way that she'd gone too far. She just felt content and happy. Her relationship with her husband was better. She'd never felt so good in her life. And so what we did was, you know, we knew we'd gotten results that never happened before. And that's the thing about medications. You can get people better, but you can't get them all the way where they're just happy. You know, it's very hard to do. And so we realized that this was just a dramatic, remarkable thing, and she was so excited. And so we let her be stable for a little bit, and then we started to taper the medication off. And we were able to taper the medication off successfully, and she continued to feel good and do well. And so for me, she was the first person who showed me that, you know, the power of nutrition in healing the brain, and that most people walking around who are depressed and who are anxious, who have poor attention span, even people who hear voices, the primary reason is coming from here.